They came from the streets, spoke the truth, changed music forever. Hip-hop gave them fame, money, power, but it also gave them enemies, rivalries, violence, and death. Some were shot in their cars, some were gunned down in public, some died from overdoses, and some are still mysteries. This is how hip-hop legends really died. Tupac Shakur was more than a rapper. He was a poet, an activist, a revolutionary. But by 1996, Tupac was caught in a war. East Coast versus West Coast. Biggie versus Tupac. Death Row Records versus Bad Boy Records. The tension had been building for years. Tupac had been shot 5 times in a New York recording studio in 1994. He survived, but he believed Biggie and Puff Daddy had set him up. The friendship was over. The war had begun. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas. He had just watched a Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. Tyson knocked out Bruce Seldon in 109 seconds. Tupac was hyped. After the fight, Tupac and his crew were walking through the casino lobby. Someone pointed out Orlando Anderson, a member of the Southside Crips. There had been tension between Anderson and Death Row Records. Tupac and his crew jumped Anderson. They beat him down in the middle of the casino. Security cameras caught everything. Security broke it up, but the damage was done. Anderson was humiliated, and he wanted revenge. That night, Tupac got into a black BMW with Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records. Suge was driving. Tupac was in the passenger seat. They were heading to Club 6062. At 11:15 p.m., they stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road. The streets were busy, tourists everywhere. Suddenly, a white Cadillac pulled up on the passenger side. The window rolled down. Someone inside opened fire. 13 shots rang out. 4 bullets hit Tupac. One pierced his right lung. Another shattered his pelvis. Tupac tried to climb into the back seat to escape, but he couldn't move. The pain was too much. Suge Knight was grazed by shrapnel. He hit the gas and ran red lights. Blood was everywhere. Tupac was gasping for air. His lung was collapsing. Police and paramedics arrived. Tupac was rushed to University Medical Center. Doctors performed emergency surgery. They removed his right lung. He was placed in a medically induced coma. For 6 days, Tupac fought for his life. His mother, Afeni Shakur, stayed by his side. Friends visited, prayed, hoped. But on September 13th, 1996, at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Shakur died from respiratory failure and cardiac arrest. He was 25 years old. The shooter was never officially caught. Orlando Anderson was the prime suspect, but he denied involvement. He was killed in a gang shooting 2 years later. The case remains unsolved. Tupac died in a war he never wanted to fight. The Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls, was Tupac's rival. But they were once friends. In the early 1990s, they hung out together, made music together, respected each other. But the East Coast-West Coast rivalry tore them apart. After Tupac was shot in 1994, he blamed Biggie. He released diss tracks. Hit 'Em Up was brutal. Tupac called out Biggie. The disrespect was personal. Biggie responded with his own tracks. But he never wanted the war. By 1997, Tupac was dead, and Biggie knew he could be next. His friends warned him not to go to Los Angeles. It was too dangerous. But Biggie went anyway. On March 9th, 1997, Biggie was in Los Angeles for the Soul Train Music Awards. After the awards show, he attended an after-party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. The party was packed. Celebrities everywhere. Biggie was in good spirits. Around 12:30 a.m., the party ended. Biggie got into the front passenger seat of a green GMC Suburban. His friend Damian Butler was driving. Puff Daddy was in another car behind them. They drove down Wilshire Boulevard. They stopped at a red light at the intersection of Wilshire Boulevard and South Fairfax Avenue. Suddenly, a black Chevy Impala pulled up on the right side. The driver was alone. He was wearing a blue suit and a bow tie. He looked like he was coming from a formal event, but he wasn't. The driver rolled down his window. He pulled out a 9mm pistol. He extended his arm, and he fired. 4 shots. All 4 hit Biggie. The first bullet hit his left forearm. The second hit his back. The third pierced his left shoulder. The fourth bullet entered his right hip. It tore through his colon, liver, heart, and left lung. Biggie's eyes went wide. He gasped. Blood poured from his mouth. The driver hit the gas and sped towards Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Biggie was unconscious, not breathing. They arrived at the hospital in minutes. Doctors rushed Biggie into emergency surgery, but the damage was too severe. The bullet had destroyed his heart. At 1:15 a.m., the Notorious B.I.G. was pronounced dead. He was 24 years old, just 6 months after Tupac's death. The shooter was never caught. Witnesses described the Impala, the driver, but no arrests were ever made. The case remains unsolved. 2 of the greatest rappers in history, both murdered, both unsolved. The East Coast-West Coast War claimed them both. XXXTentacion was a new generation of rapper, controversial, raw, emotional, violent. He had been accused of domestic abuse. He had been in and out of jail, but his music connected with millions of young fans. He rapped about depression, suicide, pain. His fans felt seen, understood. By 2018, XXXTentacion was one of the biggest rising stars in hip-hop, but he had enemies. On June 18, 2018, XXXTentacion was in Deerfield Beach, Florida. He went to a motorcycle dealership to look at bikes. He was carrying a Louis Vuitton bag. Inside was $50,000 in cash. He had just withdrawn it from the bank. At 3:56 p.m., XXXTentacion left the dealership. He got into his black BMW i8. He was alone. As he was pulling out of the parking lot, a dark SUV blocked his car. 2 masked men jumped out. They were armed with guns. They ran to XXXTentacion's car. One of them pointed a gun at his head through the window. XXXTentacion tried to resist. The gunman didn't wait. He fired, multiple times. The bullets shattered the window. One hit XXXTentacion in the neck. Another hit his chest. Blood sprayed across the interior. The robbers grabbed the Louis Vuitton bag and ran back to the SUV. They sped off. XXXTentacion slumped over the steering wheel. Blood poured from his wounds. Witnesses screamed. Someone called 911. Paramedics arrived within minutes. They tried to revive him, but there was too much blood. XXXTentacion was rushed to the hospital. He was pronounced dead at 5:30 p.m. He was 20 years old. The killers were caught within days. 4 men were arrested. They had been following XXXTentacion for weeks, waiting for the right moment. It was a planned robbery. They knew he had money. In 2023, 3 of them were convicted of first-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison. XXXTentacion died for a bag of cash. His last Instagram story was posted hours before his death. It said, "If worse things come to worst, I'm going to die a legend." Juice WRLD was one of the most talented young rappers of his generation. He could freestyle for hours without stopping. His lyrics were raw, honest, painful. He rapped about heartbreak, anxiety, depression, and drugs. Percocet, lean, Xanax. He was open about his addiction. He rapped about it in almost every song, but he couldn't stop. On December 8, 2019, Juice WRLD was on a private jet from Los Angeles to Chicago. He was with his girlfriend, Ali Lottie, and his entourage. They were celebrating, but federal agents were waiting at Chicago's Midway Airport. They had been tipped off. Someone had reported that there were guns and drugs on the plane. As the plane landed, Juice WRLD panicked. He knew the feds were coming. He had a large amount of Percocet pills on him. He didn't want to get caught, so he made a decision. He swallowed them. All of them. Dozens of pills. By the time the federal agents boarded the plane, Juice WRLD was acting strange. He was stumbling, mumbling. Then he started convulsing. He collapsed. He was having a seizure. His eyes rolled back. Foam came out of his mouth. His entourage screamed for help. Paramedics were called. They arrived and gave him 2 doses of Narcan. But it didn't work. Juice WRLD's heart stopped. They performed CPR. They rushed him to the hospital, but it was too late. Juice WRLD was pronounced dead at 3:14 a.m. He was 21 years old. The autopsy revealed he had toxic levels of oxycodone and codeine in his system. The Percocet pills he swallowed had killed him. Federal agents searched the plane. They found 70 pounds of marijuana, 6 bottles of prescription codeine, 2 9mm pistols, and metal-piercing bullets. But Juice WRLD was already gone. He died trying to hide his addiction, the same addiction he rapped about. His last tweet, posted hours before his death, read, "I'm not sure if I'll make it to 21. He didn't. Pop Smoke was the king of Brooklyn drill music. His deep, raspy voice, his aggressive style, his energy. He was on the verge of superstardom. In just 2 years, he had gone from unknown to one of the hottest names in hip-hop. His debut mixtape was a hit. He was collaborating with Travis Scott, Nicki Minaj, and Quavo. His future was bright. But on February 19, 2020, Pop Smoke was in Los Angeles. He was staying in a rented mansion in the Hollywood Hills. The house was massive, luxury, a dream. Pop Smoke posted photos of the house on Instagram. He was showing off. But in one of the photos, the address was visible. A gift bag in the background had the address printed on it. Fans noticed, and so did others. At 4:30 a.m., 4 masked men broke into the house. They were armed. They knew exactly where Pop Smoke's bedroom was. They went straight there. Pop Smoke was asleep. He woke up to the sound of footsteps. The door burst open. The masked men rushed in. They demanded money and jewelry. Pop Smoke resisted. He fought back. One of the intruders pulled out a gun. He fired, twice. Both bullets hit Pop Smoke in the chest. The robbers grabbed what they could and fled. Pop Smoke stumbled out of the bedroom. He was bleeding, gasping for air. His friends called 911. Paramedics arrived. They rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. But Pop Smoke was pronounced dead. He was 20 years old. The killers were caught. They were teenagers. The youngest was 15 years old. They had seen the Instagram post. They knew where he was. It was supposed to be a robbery, but it turned into murder. In 2023, the shooter was sentenced to 4 years in juvenile detention. Pop Smoke died because he posted his location, a mistake that cost him his life. His debut album was released posthumously. It debuted at number 1. Pop Smoke became a legend. But he never got to see it. Mac Miller was different. He wasn't about violence. He wasn't about gangs. He was about music, about art, about honesty. Mac Miller started rapping as a teenager in Pittsburgh. He was goofy, fun, positive. His early music was lighthearted. But as he got older, his music got darker. He struggled with addiction, pills, cocaine, alcohol. He tried to get clean. He went to rehab. He talked openly about his struggles, but he kept relapsing. In 2018, Mac Miller and his girlfriend, Ariana Grande, broke up. He was devastated. He poured his pain into his music. His album, Swimming, was deeply personal. It was about struggling to stay afloat, about fighting depression. On September 7th, 2018, Mac Miller was at his home in Los Angeles. He had been partying, using drugs. That night, he texted his dealer. He wanted oxycodone. The dealer delivered, but the pills weren't real oxycodone. They were counterfeit, pressed with fentanyl, a deadly synthetic opioid. Fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin. Just a tiny amount can kill. Mac Miller didn't know. He took the pills. He went to bed. He never woke up. His assistant found him the next day. He was in his bedroom, kneeling beside his bed, his head resting on the mattress, as if he had been praying. Mac Miller was dead. He was 26 years old. The autopsy revealed he had fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol in his system. The combination was lethal. His dealer, Cameron James Pettit, was later arrested. Text messages showed Pettit knew the pills contained fentanyl. He sold them anyway. In 2022, Pettit was sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. Mac Miller didn't know the pills were fake. He didn't know they would kill him. He died from a drug he didn't even take. Nipsey Hussle was a legend in Los Angeles. He wasn't just a rapper. He was a businessman, a community leader, an inspiration. Nipsey grew up in South Los Angeles, in the Crenshaw neighborhood. He was a member of the Rollin' 60s Crips, but he got out. He chose music. He chose to build. Nipsey invested in his neighborhood. He opened businesses, a clothing store called The Marathon, a co-working space, a STEM center for kids. He wanted to give back. He wanted to show young people there was another way. On March 31st, 2019, Nipsey Hussle was at his clothing store in South Los Angeles. He was outside in the parking lot, talking to friends. It was a normal day. Fans stopped by, took pictures. Nipsey was always accessible, always humble. At 3:20 p.m., a man walked up to him. His name was Eric Holder. Holder was from the same neighborhood. He knew Nipsey. They had talked earlier that day, but there was tension. Nipsey had heard rumors that Holder was snitching. He warned him, told him to be careful. Holder felt disrespected. He left, but he came back. Holder pulled out a gun. He fired multiple shots. Nipsey was hit at least 10 times. In the head, in the torso. He collapsed on the sidewalk. His friends tried to help, but there was too much blood. Holder ran to a waiting car and sped off. Paramedics arrived. They rushed Nipsey to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead. He was 33 years old. Eric Holder was caught 2 days later. In 2022, he was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 60 years to life in prison. Nipsey Hussle died in front of the store he built. In the neighborhood he loved, killed by someone from his own community, over disrespect, over nothing. His funeral was held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Over 20,000 people attended. President Obama sent a letter. It read, "Nipsey saw potential where others saw problems." Nipsey Hussle was a legend, and his legacy lives on. They were legends, voices of a generation, but they all died too young. Some were murdered in gang wars. Some were killed in robberies. Some overdosed on drugs they didn't know were fake. Hip-hop gave them everything: fame, money, power. But it also took everything away: the violence, the drugs, the streets. They couldn't escape. Tupac and Biggie died in a war that never should have happened. XXXTentacion died for money. Juice, WRLD, died from his addiction. Pop Smoke died from a mistake. Mac Miller died from a lie. Nipsey Hussle died from disrespect. They all had so much more to give, but the world will never know. This is how hip-hop legends really died. This is the truth.